Welcome back, students. So let's continue with the next model auxiliary, that is ought to, auxiliary verb. So ought to, here this model auxiliary ought to, it is a little stronger than should, but not as strong as must. Are you getting what I mean to say? Little stronger than should, but not as strong as must. This model auxiliary. So, ought to is used to express that I wrote in short here. So you understand. It is used to express moral obligations, to express duty, necessity, suitability, strong probability. So for all these moods or to show expression, that we use this model auxiliary, that is ought to. Am I clear? So we will clarify it with some examples that it will be easy for you to understand. So let us go for the next example. First one, she ought to receive the package tonight. This is the first example. So ought to is used. Ought to. And after ought to, as we have discussed previously in the past few video models, we have learnt in case of modal auxiliaries, after ought to, first form of the main verb, that is present form of the base or the base form, present form of the main verb. So she ought to receive the package tonight. So what does it show? It shows what? Strong possibility, high or great possibility to receive what? The package tonight. So it shows strong, high or great probability. So that is what? So already we have taken here strong probability. Next, you ought to exercise more. So ought to, modal auxiliary, later on first form of the main verb. So now you ought to exercise more. What is this? We are giving recommendations. We are recommending. We are giving suggestions, we advise to him or to her, whatever, that you ought to, what? You ought to exercise more, or you ought to do, exercise more in this manner. So it is a recommendation, advice or suggestions that you ought to exercise more. Next, James ought to get the promotion. Ought to first, present form of the main verb or the base form. So James ought to get the promotion. See now here what it shows, that it is expected as he deserves. We are expecting because he deserves, James deserves for the promotion. So that is why it shows our expectation that James ought to get the promotion now, this time. So it shows our expectation as he deserves. Am I clear? Next, we ought to obey the rules of schools and college of the school. This is our duty. Ought to. Then obey base form, verb. So we can say that you ought to obey the rules of the school or the college. So it is our duty. To show, to express our duty, we can use ought to, that you ought to do this. This is your moral obligation or duty. So to express obligation, duty, we can use this modal auxiliary, that is auxiliary verb, what? Ought to. Next, we ought to buy things today itself because tomorrow is a holiday. We ought to plus buy, base form of the main verb, present form of the main verb. We ought to buy things today itself because I wrote here in brief, in short, instead of the spelling complete one. So you understand, because this is because, B-E-C-A-U-S-E, in short I wrote here, right, in brief, abbreviation. So we ought to buy things today itself because tomorrow is a holiday. But in your answer sheet, in your answer paper, whatever, that you use the complete word, all the letters, not this one. Only due to the lack of space I wrote here. Am I clear? So we ought to buy things today itself because tomorrow is a holiday. It means it shows necessity. Next, in past, I ought to have studied medicine, not pharmacy. What it shows in past, that you should have studied this and this one, but you didn't study. What it shows, I ought to have studied medicine, but right now I have studied pharmacy. Right? Am I clear? The meaning of this sentence. Right now I have studied pharmacy, but instead of pharmacy, I should have studied medicine. That would have been better for me. So it shows what? A sense of regret. Sense of regret that it didn't happen in the past. Instead of studying this one, pharmacy, that I should have studied medicine. But that was the past. I should have, it means ideal, that was the way. Ideally. What? Studying medicine. But it didn't happen. I studied pharmacy. It means a sense of regret here. Ought to, then have, and past participle. After have, many times I told you, use the past participle, that is the third form of the main verb. Up to have. Am I clear? Next. You ought to have helped me or him. Ought to have helped him. Am I clear? It means it was your duty to help him, but you didn't. Are you getting what I mean to say? This is the past thing, that it was your duty to help him, but you didn't help. That is over. So you ought to have helped him, ought to have, but you didn't help. Am I clear? So now in this way, that this is what the use of this modal auxiliary, modal verb ought to, we have seen here or discussed with examples, that which is used to express moral obligation, our duty, necessity, suitability, and strong probability, or the expectations, all these things that we, with examples, we have studied. Am I clear? So I hope that you might have understood the things clearly. So that's all from me.